Hello, welcome back, everybody. I guess this is the podcast where everything's crazy. Derek's not here, so I don't have a spiel, and obviously your argument is
It's definitely invalid.
it is invalid.
Nice.
This week we have a special guest, and we will change my lighting. There we go. And oh my God. Okay.
Don't die over there.
Hello. I put on a sweater for no reason.
So what's up? Where are we at?
Where are we at? I don't know. Hi, we're in Seattle, Greater Region, Washington. We're in the Pacific Northwest. We're a small gaming podcast who is made of bullshit and loves to chat your ear off about random topics.
Yeah, mostly video game related and affiliated in, video games and video game accessories.
Yeah,
movies. Wait a second, we're talking about those video games? I didn't sign up for this. What the bloody hell? Sorry.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Well, I'm stayed here. How about this? I'll start and we'll go around the circle. So I'll let you know who I am and what I've been playing this week and where you can find me. My name is
Sage. Don't die back there.
I know.
Move that screen
close to me. It wants to cuddle. Hi, I'm SageBell. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter at SageBell. Instagram and TikTok, but I never post, is SageBell_model. I typically stream Tuesdays and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time on my Twitch. And this week I have played far more Genshin than I've ever played. We finally figured out how co-op works. It was bugged, so that was part of the issue. Because I'm such a low level in the game, my friends can't directly join. They have to manually type it in for the code. So now I can do quests while everyone kills everything for me.
Nice. So you'll be max level in like a week or so?
Maybe not. Probably not. Okay. But I've explored. Something in my brain clicked, and I was like, "Oh, this is basically Zelda." And then I was just like, started ignoring anything I was too weak to attack, and just started unlocking regions, just going up to all the portals and unlocking.
Don't you love that when you get carried and you turn around when your friends are gone and you're like, what is all this stuff? You got a backpack full of stuff you can't even use. You're just like, what is happening?
Oh, this is what I'm doing on my own. With my friends, we're going back and all the shit I avoided, we're going back and doing.
Nice.
Tell everyone about yourself.
Oh, howdy, everyone. This is the Saverings ... of Vdash Gaming on Twitter and Midlife Comics on Twitter. I don't really do anything with them. They're just kind of there, and I made them. And I made a few videos here and there. Check us out. Check me out on YouTube as well. There's a few videos I made a while ago, but they're up there. I'll keep it brief because I want to talk to our guest and get him introduced up in here. But this week I've been playing the usual suspects. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14. Let me tell you guys something really quick about that game. There's an optional quest line that you can do in the game for the last two expansions, Shadowbringer and Endwalker, and they're called role quests. So there's one if you're a tank, one if you're a healer, one if you're a ranged DPS, and one if you're a punchy DPS. And you can level in that game. You can level all the jobs in different categories, however much you want. So I went back, and as I was playing through it on my main, which is a paladin who's a tank, I did the tank ones, and it was really cool. It's a whole separate side story about some main characters you already ran into and I won't spoil it. Anyway, so I also did the healer because I leveled up a healer next, and that was really cool. That's probably the best story. It gets really dark. That game gets really twisted sometimes. Yeah, you played it. Yeah, it gets kind of twisted sometimes. And so anyway, I had beaten Endwalker and stuff, and I've been leveling my jobs. So I went back and I finished the Shadowbringers one, and I finished the Endwalker one. And lo and behold, I'd heard this but probably forgot about it. When you finish all those, there's a wrap-up giant story where all the people you met and all the different ones all come together, and you have this whole crazy, so good. It's so good. This little behind a thing, but level your characters, do all the quests, then it's behind like 3 walls. But if you do it, it's so amazing. It's like the top 5, one of the top 5 best, coolest stories in the whole game, which is full of mini. So that was cool. I did both of those. So the game's great. They don't waste anything in that game. Also been playing Stellaris, sort of in preparation for the new expansion that comes out tomorrow. I've been playing as a megacorp because I saw somebody try to do a all capitalist run where you don't grow food, you don't mine, you don't even have power, you just trade, and you just try to just make everything and buy everything else just based off your trade. It's impossible.
Okay.
It's impossible. I started it. I went about 10 years into the game doing it. But if you play that way for about your first 10 years of playing it, when you do decide to like diversify, you're already like set because you have all this trade going on. So it is really powerful to do that, at least at the beginning of the game. I also played the new SCP Secret Files game that came out. That game at the beginning is very much like did you play that or see it?
I got hands on with the demo at PAX. And
Okay.
I've been really intrigued by that.
Yes, so I played it, and it's pretty funny because it's very immersive, and I mean immersive to the point where you're playing as an archivist at the SCP Foundation. For those that understand what that means, it's pretty cool. And it even goes down to like your work chat, and they tell you, oh, you're late for your training, and you have to like watch the training video. It's got like all that stuff in it. So a lot of detail. I made it to the first scenario. I beat the little intro scenario. Now I'm in the first main scenario, which some of you might have seen like a sneak peek on YouTube maybe about 2 or 3 months ago. There were people were playing through it. But yeah, also a great game. But I've prattled on long enough to introduce our guest. Actually, you've been here before, haven't you, Viking?
No, this is my first run.
Okay.
This is my first time here.
Nice. Well, happy to have you here. Tell everybody who you are, where they can find you. He's an actual real streamer, folks. Not saying that SageBell is not, but this is Sage's own words. He's an actual real streamer.
Negatory, I am in fact 3 corgis in a trench coat pretending to be a streamer. It's a very elaborate ruse.
It's why your accent switches so often.
The corgis have to switch because they're little leggies.
Yeah. Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Will. I stream under Viking_blonde on twitch.television. And I was in the games industry for far longer than anyone should have let me. But now I talk about games. I have been playing The Last Stand Aftermath, which is a roguelike zombie game. You've been bitten, and it is your job to head out of your settlement, out from the safety of the walls to go search for resources for your camp before you finally kick the bucket. And the game that is going to consume me in my entirety is a game called Hyperdemon, which dropped literally at like midnight last night. It is the sequel to Devil Daggers, and it is a fisheye lens acid trip of high-speed proportion, the likes of which there isn't another game like it. Oh boy. I actually voluntarily stopped playing that game to come hang out with you both. I want you to know that's a very large deal.
You just needed to give your brain a little bit of a break from your acid trip.
Oh yeah, I think I stopped blinking for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, this looks like super fried mushrooms, Metroid Prime. I want to play this in VR.
No.
Oh God.
Yep.
I saw some people have made a VR mod for Neon White, and the idea of that just makes me feel queasy.
Yeah,
I've got pretty good VRC legs as well.
Yeah, what's that one game, Redout, where it's like Wipeout, but but if you play that in VR, it kind of messes you up too.
Yeah, same with Thumper?
In VR?
Yeah, that one's intense.
Nice.
I tried to play a horror game in VR, but it required too much reading, and I can't get anything to like be in proper focus of my eyes. And so I started getting really nauseous anytime I played games that required me to like actually have to read.
Because your eyes try to focus on it and they can't, and then your brain starts being like, "Wait, why can't I read this? I must be poisoned. Time to chunder." I actually briefly worked on a VR title when I was in New Zealand called Out of Ammo Death Drive. And I got to experience like what happens when the build breaks in VR.
Oof.
There was one situation where just a combination of chaos caused like one of the 2 screens to have a slower refresh rate. And oh boy, I didn't puke at work, but I came real close.
Wow.
Oh man, that's just a
yeah.
That's like I used to work for Oculus, and we'd get like new builds of things, or we get like some prototype thing we were working on, and it would, like you'd be testing it, and it would chunk up all of a sudden in the middle of something. Yeah, that was not a good look at work.
Well, go for it.
I was just gonna say, what is actually pretty neat. I don't know if either of you have played with it, but the HoloLens.
Yes.
Let's do the in-store tech demo of it.
It is so fascinating, and it's much easier to adjust things, like your brain at least. Maybe not like literally because you're like still trying to grab shit to pull it closer.
Oh, so you're talking about the actual HoloLens and not like what they have as HoloLens, which is Windows Mixed Reality, which is just basically regular VR. They actually call that HoloLens internally too. So yeah,
No,
but I know which one. You're talking about the one that you can
HoloLens
touch
2.
stuff.
Yeah.
The 3D one.
Yes, that thing is so fascinating. We have a couple at my office, and I was just trying to figure out how to turn them on and stuff. So I got to go through all the tutorials, and I think the part that like fucks with me, and not in like the nauseous way, just like in they implanted a chip in you way, is you look at your wrist to touch the Windows key to like do if something like messes up, you hit the Windows key by looking at your wrist.
See, that's fascinating because not to bring it too much onto streaming and nonsense, but I streamed my run of Half-Life Alyx, and I found this wonderful mod online that put all the chat on my wrist.
Yeah.
So anytime I needed to like talk to people or do things, I'd kind of bring my wrist up, and it would pop up like this like super futuristic clock from like some hard sci-fi stuff, and I could scroll through and look at shit. It was awesome.
This way, cooler. Looking this way and tapping here.
Yeah, there's a certain kind of person that wears their watch backwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Nope. I haven't seen that in a while.
They unironically use the term peasants a lot.
Well, alrighty. Keep the boogie. You know, drop on in and tell us what's going on. Or is he too blank? Or did we lose him? Did we take too long with the other areas? Oh, you muted.
I might not remember to turn my fucking mic on, but hey, you quiet. Let's play.
The touchdown is important, though.
The touchdown is important, and you know what? I'm doubly impressed that as a Brit, you even know what that is. So
he's been in America long enough.
Indeed, I got my my welcome to the US starter pack. Explains touchdowns, barbecue,
picnics,
you know, the usuals.
The DMV.
The DMV.
We don't speak of the DMV in this house. Seen dark things there.
So listen, the biggest thing going on this week, completely, the only really thing that anybody's really talking about in all of video gamedom, because it's obviously the most important single thing that's ever happened to anybody, is that GTA 6 apparently has been leaked.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, this is generally the kind of thing we've come to expect from media properties that are going to get leaked. I don't know why they're acting like a bunch of fucking hurt pansies over it, because like it was going to get out and you should be feeding your fan base anyway. And it's 2 years away. It's not like anybody's not going to buy the thing when it comes out. Anyway,
that was part of my argument with it. Yeah, there's a lot of, oh, you gotta feel so sorry for the devs. And in a way, I do, because they really wanted to like get it ready and see the big reveal, and they all wanted to do that. But yeah, it got spoiled. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's like,
well, so over in like game dev Twitter and stuff like that, the conversation has been around, because GTA is such a huge franchise, right? It's bigger than video games. It's culture.
Yeah,
and
it is. Completely.
A lot of people outside that space are having their first interaction with like what, you know, pre-alpha video games look like. And so like the user perception of GTA, like people, there was one guy who was running his mouth today saying like, oh, video game assets, art assets, the first things to get done. So I can tell you that this is as good as this game is going to look. And of course, the entire games industry went, actually, that's bollocks.
I agree with that.
That was my whole bug. My whole bug I wrote to Cliffy B. I knew it was going to get updated, but I was like, hey, she's kind of ugly. Yeah.
Yeah, and what's been really cool is a lot of the other games companies have been sharing their equivocant. My favorite is the pre-alpha footage of Sea of Thieves that looks like some kind of like edgy underground version of VeggieTales, like a bunch of vegetable-looking pirates.
Nice.
Just doing piratey things.
Yes, and it also works the other way around, because remember Watch Dogs? How that looked in the pre-alpha footage, and then it actually went backwards. So stuff's not always going to look as good as it's going to look.
Yeah, I mean, usually when it comes to stuff like that, as I'm sure you all know, it's like whatever fancy effects and stuff they put on just put too much strain on the title. So they had to ease back on additional effects for launch, for more stability, especially if you're launching on console and you've got to meet console cert, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like part of the issue is that least for me, I think most people, this is not their first exposure to GTA. It is culture, and it was culture, for the past 2 releases, I think.
For the last 20 years. Actually.
Yeah, so I don't think people are having their perception of GTA ruined. And that's just my personal opinion. I'm not in the games industry other than like running some esports stuff. So I'm not a dev, so I don't feel that particular pain of having your baby shoved out in the world with his diaper around his ankles.
Well, here's the thing. It's not because the reason why Rockstar is butthurt is not because it's been shown early. They know they're going to sell a gajillion copies. GTA is such a strong property that they can make batshit business deals with huge other companies. Like, they'll have a Monster Energy drink tie-in, or they'll probably have some like super expensive car deal where you can buy like the car from GTA 6 or some stuff like that. And early footage and early leaks remove the amount of exclusives they have to deal with. So they're butthurt because they're not going to make the usual amount of cash that they make from PR deals and things like that. Sorry, I'm still mad at Rockstar. Rockstar have kind of been infamous in the industry for how much they grind their poor staff into a powder through crunch.
Oh, for sure.
And they were even open about this during Red Dead 2.
Oh, yeah, I remember all that.
As part of the leaks,
I do.
As part of the leaks, a bunch of other stuff got leaked, including footage and things of the Red Dead Redemption 1 remaster, which got canceled.
Which, I mean, that's kind of been swept under the carpet a little with all the noise, but it's just...
The thing with that game is just play it on the Xbox, because it's the updated one from the One X, so you can play it in 4K 60. So there is a version of that game. I find it hard to have sympathy, particularly for this team. I don't mean any diss on the team, on the people working on it, but as a company, like they crunch their people. If you've worked in any UK game development environment, you know at least one basically survivor of Rockstar North. Like, oh boy, they do not treat their people good. And on top of that, you got Take-Two, which is even worse.
Yep. And like at the moment, GTA 5 Online makes more money than Sin selling shark cards. Like, we're not talking about some, plucky up and coming indie who was ready for that big chance at the big shot. Nah, that
was them in the 90s.
Yeah, it was. Sorry, I get very, very animated about this.
Oh, I get it. I think that at a certain point, video games become so embedded, in, like you said, they become culture. Like, and here's the example that I use to kind of talk about that is that it made variety, which doesn't give a rat's ass about video games. It does give a crap about entertainment culture.
Yeah, that's the bread and butter there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's crazy. I feel not really bad for them, to be honest, because they're still going to make a butt ton of money.
Yeah, and if this is 2 years out, everybody who, out of all the people that are potentially going to buy this game 10 years from now, like 2% of them are the ones that are the people that actually know about this. Everybody else is just going to buy it.
I will say there was one interesting confirmation, or at least seemingly confirmation in all of this, is that Rockstar had said in an effort to diversify their presence, they're adding a female protagonist, and that appears to have been confirmed.
Yes.
One.
Yes.
Only one.
Will she be the only person of color as well?
No, it's in Miami.
As well as the only person of Jewish descent and the only left-handed person in the entire game. They're going to knock out all 4 of those.
She's left-handed too?
Left-handed Jew, brown-skinned lady.
Oh, it's like they check that's like 3 boxes right there.
4.
Literally,
4.
They're just like diversity puddle. Go.
Yes.
I cover 2 of those. I'm left-handed and I'm a woman. I'm half of that.
Was nearly beer out of my nose. Thank you all.
You're welcome. No pictures necessary.
Yeah, so from what I hear, it's like a Bonnie and Clyde couple, and she's the lady in the couple. I forgot the guy's name is Jason, and I forgot her name.
Look, as long as they don't pull a Saints Row 5, I think we're all in good shape.
We don't talk about Saints Row 5.
But do we talk about the musical follow-up, Gat Out of Hell?
Actually, that was the last one.
Yeah, that was.
It wasn't considered a full title. It was a standalone.
It was like 4.5.
Yeah. So yeah, the new one that just came out and fell flat on its face.
Yeah.
Because everybody was saying it's Twitter the video game.
Well, the one I saw that apparently people were taking issue with the fact that they wrote the dialogue the way you would imagine a 13-year-old boy would write dialogue who's just discovered curse words.
So shit and fuck over and over every 5 seconds.
Over and over. And just like, it's like, ooh, that makes me an adult. I should say that word more.
It's like they have to hit their like maximum numbers of the 2 words they can say in a PG-13 movie.
Pretty much.
God. I mean, in fairness, in terms of dialogue, that game peaked in, I believe it was Saints Row the Third.
It did.
Where you could choose zombie as your character, and instead of any dialogue, your character would just go,
No, listen,
resulting in the best karaoke scene in a video game to date.
Nice. Better than Shenmue?
Saints Row
Better than Shenmue.
has embedded itself in my consciousness. It's probably the best example of really well done, puerile, juvenile fun.
Speaking of juvenile, I've heard that they've identified the person who broke the hack. This person also tried to extort them. Starting at $100,000 to promise that the stuff wouldn't get leaked. The rumor, the scuttlebutt is it's a 16-year-old girl. It's also the same person that hacked Uber earlier.
Hell yeah.
So, yeah.
Supposedly the same technique, which was like a 2-factor authentication maneuver.
Yeah. So,
if it's only that much, that's kind of sad. Like for the company, not the girl.
I mean, yeah, like if you get hacked by a 16-year-old girl, you may want to talk to your security people and see if any of them.
Child,
see if you even have any.
Why don't you guys have a 16-year-old working there to counteract the other 16-year-olds? That's what I'm saying.
Come on.
The only thing that can beat a child is another child.
Yeah, and if it's cool if they can only work like 4 hours, you just swap them out, and they get like college credit or something. There you go.
The kids thought it was funny.
My minion is he's playing Madden. He's 6 and he plays better than I do.
Yeah, that happens.
You know what we didn't include this week was some clips of Madden just being broken.
Wasn't that last week?
We did that for about 3 weeks in a row. The Viking, Madden came out after it was promised it was going to be the most polished version ever by the devs.
I have been using the Madden Steam user reviews as my little piece of Schadenfreude. Like, I wake up in the morning and you're like, shit, like I'm tired. I failed to make coffee. Like, all right, how am I going to make myself feel? Madden. Let's see how the Madden reviews are.
It's like overwhelmingly negative over there. It's red.
Which on Steam takes work.
Yeah, it does actually. Like that doesn't just happen.
It's almost deliberate.
You would say, yeah. I think people just bought it to play it for less than 2 hours just so they could leave a crap review and then refund it.
Yeah, well, it keeps you entertained, so I'm not going to complain.
It's just a matter of time, really, to see if the NFL pulls the license out from them like FIFA just did. Because a little competition would be fantastic.
Indeed. Although, wasn't the FIFA thing, because I don't actually know football very well, but wasn't the FIFA thing that EA's license came to a close? Yes. And FIFA have decided that they're going to shop around.
Yes. Yeah, they said, why should we just take your money if we could take everyone's money, basically?
Yeah.
And then they were like, oh, you paid the NFL $1 billion for the NFL. Like, what are you going to pay us for FIFA? And they were like, yeah. They're like, how much you got, EA? Yeah, and EA was like, no, we can't do that. That's how many loot boxes we'd have to sell to pay that off? We're already in trouble.
I mean, for a long time, FIFA was their big moneymaker. The Ultimate Team on FIFA made vomit-inducing amounts of money.
It's their thing. It's what makes them the most, even more than mobile games. Like FIFA by itself makes them more than most of their mobile enterprises, which is kind of ridiculous.
But again, it's like it hits a space outside of gaming and hits them with like a combination of loot boxes and the Magic the Gathering style synergy. Yep. But it's sports, like it's insidious.
Yeah, the sports cards and all that stuff. Yeah. And then they don't bother to fix any of the rest of the game to try to funnel you into that one mode that actually like mostly works. So, but yeah,
I'm sorry, friends. I didn't mean to come on here and bring like the fight Rockstar, fight EA, because they obviously care about my opinion.
Yeah. Do you not see the salt shaker above my head here?
You know what?
We have a salt shaker.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's what this is all about.
Okay, I got beef. I got beef that needs salting.
Well, there you go. I think that's a good one. All right. Well, that was a good one, though, actually. What we got, Keith the Buggy? What's next here? I see you jumped right to GTA 6. You want to bury that one at all, did you?
Oh, no, I didn't want to bury that. I mean, anytime we have a chance to poop on big-name producers, I mean, why not?
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Well,
I
also,
mean,
what's been lovely about it, at least in the Twitter sphere, is that it's given most of the games industry a chance to talk about like what it actually looks like to make a game. And
Yeah.
it's that realization that outside of like devs talking to other devs, we don't really show this. There's a wonderful documentary that NoClip did about Subnautica.
NoClip is
And
fantastic.
yeah, they show the earliest playable build of Subnautica where you're in a big gray brick in a big blue space with a bit of yellow brick, which is the sand, and you trundle it around, and sometimes you just drown and die. And it's not the kind of thing that ever gets shown at like an E3 press presentation or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in some ways, a lot
amazing.
of people are going to learn a lot about how games are made very quickly over the next like week and change.
Yeah.
if they're
Yeah.
paying attention.
Yeah, you didn't hear Biden. You better learn how to code, man. Get up out there, make some games.
So the next thing we're gonna have to talk about is PSVR, because apparently there is some anger in the community that PSVR games aren't going to be compatible with PSVR 2 because apparently features.
So Viking, we were just talking about like throwing the salt here on this podcast. Before that, we were to get into that conversation. We were talking about how this is the first time in about 3 weeks or maybe a month I haven't included clips of Madden just being just Madden on here. The last couple of weeks we've been just dunking on Sony, and I know you keep up with the gaming news, and Sony's just been on a roll for about the last week, about the last month or so.
They've made it very easy to dunk on them.
Very
I've
easy.
had to dig deep to say nice things.
And it's been consecutive. It's been like 4 or 5 weeks in a row now. This week, to me, this was their big foible right here.
Well, I think it's because a lot of people looked at PSVR as like, okay, this is the most potentially accessible road into VR for a lot of people. Like, this is most likely the way in which VR will become a household thing. And, you know, PSVR didn't do anything massive gangbusters, but it didn't do poorly. And
it actually sold really well.
Yeah. That back catalogue of titles was solid, and being able to bring that forward would have really solidified, you know, the PS5 and the PSVR back cat and bring it all together to make them like a strong... No, wait, just kidding. You're going to have to buy all new games, all new hardware, all new stuff. Because,
like,
feck you, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, PS5's also not back compatible, right?
It is not.
But no, actually, technically it is. I don't think you could put a disc into it and it reads it, but maybe you can. Anyone in chat, let me know. But a lot of the games on there, at least especially at the beginning, were still PS4 games. There was no PS5 version of it. You were playing a PS4 game on the PS5.
Yeah, and I actually noticed that because I went and I picked up Just Cause because it's got a special place in my heart. I love third-person shooters. But I copped the digital off the PlayStation Store, and playing it is like visually difficult. It's just so terrible.
It's the same thing we were talking about. We were talking about Final Fantasy 14 earlier. You can play it on PS5, but it's still the PS4 version.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a game that's really close to my heart that I got on my Steam account that is just, it never got updated, and that's Carmageddon 2. That is hard on your eyes these days.
There's no workshop for it. There's nobody put like 4K textures in it.
Oh man, I wish.
God, there's probably an underground Carmageddon scene. They probably got it set.
There's gotta be, because yeah, you cannot play that game with the graphics we're used to. You
gotta run your computer off of a CRT, make it look good.
Make it hurt less.
Yeah.
Put it on my shitty monitor.
But yeah, there seems to be this, Sony have this kind of like one generation on, one generation off success. And I think it's because every time Sony have a failing with one of their hardware products, they shake up management, everybody gets kind of a fire lit under them, and then the following hardware gen is usually fire. Well, that's just to say, the PS3 was a bit of a disaster. The PS4 was an exceptional piece of hardware, and they rocked face on that one. And the 5 seems to be having a very hard time, both for situations in and out of their control. And
COVID.
You you nailed it right there. There's one piece in there. When they come out and they do really well, they get super arrogant. They put their foot in their mouth all the time. For me, the PS3 thing was, I was working 2 jobs. I was riding on a bus from my first job to my second job. I'm thinking like legit, how am I going to pay rent? Like I'm working 2 jobs and I'm still like, how am I going to pay rent? So I watched the Sony press conference when they unveiled the PS3, and the guy gets up there and says, after they announced the price, I know what price you're talking, you know what probably about to say.
Yeah.
He's like, it's so premium that you'll work 2 jobs to get it. And I'm like, fuck you. I'm not buying it. Fuck you.
It was such a misunderstanding of who was a core like Sony fan at the time,
Yeah. And then I ended up hooking one up for somebody. They got one and they had a nice TV, and I was hooking it up, and it was kind of chintzy, and I'm like, this is not. Glad I didn't get this. Later on, it improved, but at the beginning, I was not impressed with it.
Mm-hmm. And much like with the PS5, like there wasn't a strong launch lineup of exclusives. Although, all right, I promise I'll only do a little block on this because this is my current theory, and I've been talking anybody's ear off that will listen.
You got a Sony theory? Let's hear it.
So this is the shift right here. Like this year, next year, we're moving away from console generations and we're moving on to platforms. So the idea is that rather than being, the current Xbox generation versus the current PlayStation generation, it's the Xbox platform versus the Sony platform. So that is, Xbox Game Pass on PC, that is having on your ready phone, the whole shebang as an ecosystem versus everybody else. So it feels like the game has changed, and Sony are currently playing massive catch up to this.
Yes.
I don't prescribe to we're in the Netflix of games era because video games work very, very differently than like binge consumable media. But I do feel like these platform nations are starting to form beyond just hardware. And so when you have software fractured by a large number of console generations and you don't have a strong like PC presence and things like that, like they're in a bad spot right now. Like,
yeah. I agree with you. I think it's going to be split, though. I think you're going to have PC on Xbox on one side doing that, and that's going to be their thing, and that's always going to kind of be their thing. And then you're still going to have Nintendo and Sony maybe trying to catch up a little bit, but they're still going to be very next gen. Here's our next platform, or a whole new software, start all over, wait 6 months for the Netflix app, even though you had it for 4 years on the previous platform. You still got to wait for it on the new one. So like, stuff like that. It's still going to be stuff like that. They're going to bring it in a little closer, but I think it's going to be split. So you're going to have PC and Xbox and maybe some other stuff, and then you're going to have Nintendo and Sony still doing their generational thing. Because Sony likes those numbers.
They do. Nintendo's reached a point where their business model is, well, technically 10 years behind everybody else's philosophies. They do it slowly and carefully.
Yes, but they're not going to give up chopping off stores as they go on, because they're chopping off the DS store now. 10 years from now, they're going to chop off the Switch store, and it'll be like, they're on then.
But they're in an environment where I'm not saying that I necessarily agree with it, but they can sell us like Zelda Link's Awakening every like 4 to 8 years. And as consumers, we will buy it. Like, that's just the nature of it.
Yeah, especially since they cut off the other store and you can't play those games anymore. Like that's what they like to do. So I think Nintendo's going to keep that up. They might be a little more flexible and do a couple other little things, but I think they're still going to go down that route.
Well, I think Nintendo's biggest advantage is that they've never tried to compete with Xbox and Sony in terms of the player interface, right? Or the console itself. Because I mean, Xbox and PS are basically two people trying to do the same thing. And Nintendo's always taken a little bit of a quirkier approach to things. And that's why you get like the Wii, and that's why you got the Switch. And they've really figured out how to carve a niche for themselves in the industry without having to necessarily compete with anybody on that kind of a scale. Because like, even if you have a PS5, you're going to go get a Switch.
Yeah.
Like,
you might not buy an Xbox, but you will.
Because almost anything that's on PlayStation or Xbox is on PC. So you only really need one, and then a Switch. Like, I bought a Switch. I did that during COVID. I saw them finally go on sale, and I was like, I'm going to join the group. I'm going to do it.
Plus it's
I only
nice
own 3 games for it, but
it's nice to have a full console quality game in your hands for travel. They did a really good job with that.
Like, I as I do with any game that's too open
Yeah.
world. I just run around and like I try to tame all the horses in Zelda. Like I have not done the story in Zelda, and I've owned this Switch for
Okay,
3 years.
if this is truly the salt tier podcast, I want to bring some really petty salt to the table.
Oh,
Okay.
petty is good. Oh,
Why in
it
the
is.
hot duck factory nonsense tier shenanigans can I not take the great big mystical stag and add it to the stables? I've got the rupees. I'll pay you to look after this strange god I found in the mountains. Don't tell me you can't handle it.
Is this from Breath of the Wild?
Yep. I
know what?
went to obscene lengths to get that freaking giant stag all the way down the mountain, all the way to the stables.
It's like that. It's like the deer thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
The
remember.
guy's like, yeah, nah, I'm sorry, mate, we can't take it. I will pour money on this problem. Take my damn horse. So
I
that's
rode
a
the
deer god.
damn thing down the hill. It's mine. I tamed this beast.
I can't remember if you're allowed to bank a big horse as well.
I don't think so. I have not ran into it. I did one time accidentally startle a herd and then run them off the cliff.
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to repeat that. I don't think anybody heard you.
Yeah. Is that like a?
I think it was hidden for shame. What was that?
I ran them off the cliff on accident.
Oh, that happens.
Because
happens.
like the little robot guy came alive, the ones that shoot the lasers at you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit! And like I jump on a horse, but I have no control over it, and then all of us fall off the edge.
Oh, hey, you murderer! You killed them all.
Very nice.
Oh, good grief. Let's see. You know, it's kind of a slow week on news, but I guess for the hardware nerds out there, there is one big deal that just kind of happened.
This
I'll just put it up and I will let Russ do his thing because apparently he is chomping at the bit to talk.
this was major.
This
was
is a
major.
divorce.
Yeah, this is major. So, any of you have a gaming PC at home? And raise a hand, show of hands. There you go. Look inside your gaming PC and what kind of graphics card do you have? Like who made it?
I have a Radeon.
Okay. What you got, Viking?
I've got 2 Radiants.
You got 2 Radeons? Okay. Well, you could get a room with about 10 people who have gaming PCs. I guarantee about at least 2 of them, at least 2, maybe 3 of them will have a graphics card made by EVGA. EVGA has been a board partner with NVIDIA since, I don't know, 2000. I currently own an EVGA. 2 graphics cards before that, I had an EVGA, and 2 graphics cards before that, I had an EVGA. And then I bought a couple little cheap EVGAs messing around. Basically, well, this happened this week. EVGA announced that they are stepping out of making graphics cards entirely. They won't be making stuff for AMD. They won't be making stuff for Intel. They're done. They had a board partnership with NVIDIA to make NVIDIA graphics cards. It was 85% of their revenue. And they're like, you know what? We're done. And it's also kind of strange how they announced it. They actually flew in a couple of YouTubers and told them behind closed doors. And then the next day, the YouTubers, it was Jay's 2 Cents and Howard Unboxed. Gamer Nexus. It was Gamer Nexus. So I saw the Gamer Nexus's video first, and then I saw Jay 2 Cents' video. I actually met Jay in person. He's a nice guy. But
because traditionally, that's the kind of stuff you would only do via a press release, like
yes,
announcing a new product by bringing in like content creators and stuff. That's smart. Bringing in content creators to announce a divorce, like that's weird.
Yeah, it is. It's very strange. The president of the company said it wasn't even based on financials. It was based on respect. Basically, NVIDIA over the years has just been a real piece of work to work with. EVGA is not the first to say it. A lot of people are, a little bit more subtle about it because they don't want to get kicked off the gravy train. And NVIDIA never forgets. You cross them and like you're done. You're done. You're not coming back ever. You're done. Even if you go work at another company, if they see you working there, you're done. So this is kind of major. This I equate this to. Do you guys remember the Ford Probe, right? In the 90s? Does anybody remember the Ford Probe? Had an aunt and uncle that drove one? Ever saw one in a movie? The Ford Probe.
Viking wasn't even in the US.
They were, I'm not sure if they sold them over there. Anyway, but over here in the United States, the Ford Probe was a joint thing between Ford and Mazda. and Mazda had the MX-6, which was the Mazda version of the Ford Probe, and the Ford Probe was the Ford version of the Mazda MX-6. Could you imagine if those two had a falling out, and Ford was just like, "We're done making cars. We're done. We're done. Oh, what about your trucks? What about nope? We're done. It's all about respect." And they just bowed out, and all they made was like tires or something after that. Like that's what the equivalent of this is in computer hardware.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
It feels like there's a piece that we're not getting, like this, because there's something about this that doesn't add up. Like, because here's the thing, like if you were in a bad business partner situation like that, you'd still want to leave quietly, because shitting on your business partner publicly is basically that's a final maneuver. Because from that point onwards, any business partners are going to be like, yeah, even if they were terrible to you, you still threw them under the bus.
You're spot on, because when someone asked, "Are you going to be making graphics cards for AMD and Intel?" they said no, and part of the reason that they said was quote unquote was because they didn't want to betray the relationship that they had with NVIDIA previously. In the middle of all this, they were quoted as saying that.
Respectfully, we're going to stop making graphics cards altogether.
Yes. So like I said, it'd be like Mazda and Ford working together, and the relationship falls apart, and Ford quits making cars.
Sounds like a really toxic relationship.
I have a tinfoil hat conspiracy about this.
What's up?
Ooh.
I think it all goes back to the crypto crash.
That had a lot to, yes, you're right. With all the prices going up and down, that was part of the reason, was because NVIDIA never told them when NVIDIA was going to change prices. So they would have to change prices to respond to that and sell stuff at a loss. They didn't know that till we knew it. They didn't find out about pricing until we saw it on stage. Same thing that happened to Anthem that we talked about on the show. They didn't know that was even their game. There was a bunch of little things like that. They went from treating them as partners to treating them as like sellers, as buyers. So they would unveil the thing the same time that we saw it, and then call the AVGA on the phone and be like, "How many do you want?" And like they just found out the price themselves right then and there when we did.
Okay.
So stuff like that.
Well, I also think it has to do with the fact that like prices are kind of cratering on graphics cards, which is good for gamers, and honestly good for crypto. It's bad for miners, but whatever, screw those.
And
guys.
also they went to that proof of work thing for Ethereum.
Proof of stake as opposed to proof of work.
Yeah. So now you can't really mine it with a graphics card anymore.
No, you can't, and that's why a lot of it's going to go out the window, and those prices are going to drop dramatically. Because on a completely unrelated subject, Bitcoin is probably not going to last as long as people think, and Ethereum is going to. And Ethereum's the one that moved to proof of stake, which means that all the people that had these, $50,000, $100,000 rigs set up on top of a roof somewhere to drain electricity from the neighbors and get rich off Bitcoin are now broke and can't even sell their graphics cards.
I saw with the closing of a bunch of crypto mining places, it's projected in the next 6 months. It was 0.2 of the world's power it was taking up. Out of all the power in the world, just the crypto mining jumped from what it took off a few years ago till now, and everything's been shutting back down again. 0.2 of the world's power. That's all nuclear power plants, everything. All the power in the world. Mining was taking up 0.2% of it. That's crazy.
Okay, you said this was the Salt Tier podcast, so I can bring even more salt. Basically, fuck them all. Let them crash.
Yes. Agreed.
Ace released a gorgeous Gundam-themed graphics card based on the Mac Daddy, the RX-78. Beautiful, tasteful RGB levels, wonderful designs, and it was one of the last generations of Ace's cards that didn't have the crypto limiters on. For those who don't know, a bunch of the newer cards, they do something hardware-wise that stops them being so optimal for crypto mining.
Yeah, they tried that. A lot of them, they got bypassed.
By a 16-year-old girl.
Suffice to say, a lot of the video footage coming out of these crypto farms, usually in countries that have dirt cheap power supplies, you could spot them in the lineup because they were so visually striking. Mm-hmm. But you cannot get one for love nor money because they all got hoovered up. So feck them, let them crash and burn.
Yeah,
I will cackle maniacally as these crypto farms implode.
I actually tried to give in and legit buy a bot. I tried to buy a bot from a legit bot seller and then I went there and it was sold out. They used the bots to buy out the bots. I was like, what the hell is happening?
I heard this
Speaking of
fascinating theory that
sexy-ass graphics cards.
I heard this fascinating theory that a larger portion of the bots that used to be used for acquiring exclusive sneakers and limited edition like Nike merch and stuff like that got repurposed for graphics card and hardware acquisition during lockdown.
That's what it was. It was I researched it and everything, and this is the one that sneakerheads were using to buy stuff, but then it was also for electronics and stuff like that. So yeah, I tried to buy that and it was sold out. All the bots bought out all the bots.
Hey, like I said, you all said I could bring the salt. I bring in the salt.
Yep.
I feel after PAX as well that I'm exceedingly more skeptical of anything vaguely involved in that space.
Yeah,
I'm still mad.
What happened?
Okay, talk about it.
What happened?
All right. PAX had 2 giant robot games. They had Galahad, 3090. Was it 3039, and a game called Metalcore. Metalcore had this gigantic stand, huge statue of a robot, lines weaving in and out. It's a combined like infantry tank giant robot game. But what you would not know from speaking to developers or from looking at any of the materials they've from handing out or the feckin' free masks or any of the merch they were just giving away is that game is riddled with NFTs. It is so riddled with NFTs to the point that you cannot play it without them. There is no disconnection. And if you can't afford those NFTs, if you can't generate them by play, or if you can't buy them from another person, don't worry. You can rent them from in-game landlords, or referred to as barons. Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Landlords.
They're not even trying to hide it, are they?
Well, that's the thing. They were. If you go to the main page, it shows all of this like heinous nonsense. But on the PAX show floor, it was not mentioned about, it was not spoken about or referenced. None of the people going through the demos, the playable demos, were told anything about this. But there's no way you could play that game without NFTs. You have to have a crypto wallet to play that game.
So it was
some capacity.
So it was just like EVGA, like they found out that like the same time that all the rest of us did.
No, they were trying to sneak it past.
Yeah.
So the game was just trying to play it on the down low because, I mean, the consumer and developer perception of NFTs is so toxic. Like, users don't want it, developers don't want to work on it, and so teams that have unfortunately integrated them to the point where they can't be removed are panicking. And so apparently Metalcore's maneuver was to just pretend they weren't there.
We already reported on that Pokemon-like game, the one that was like a shining example of how NFTs could be implemented. What was that game? The one they got scammed for like $600 million or something like that.
Yeah, and that one was heinous because again, the guilds basically turned into digital sweatshops. Okay, so the premise of that Pokemon card game was that you could play it, you could make money, you could earn money. What happened was that users with a lot of cash bought up a large number of resources and would then lend them to less affluent players, so long as those players generated enough in-game resources to be worth it. So basically, to be able to play in that, you had to play enough that your guild would keep you. And when those resources started crashing, these guilds started like culling players that weren't making the cut. Like I said, like a fucking Dickensian sweatshop, but a video game.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. We've had those before, though. Look at all the Chinese kids building up WoW characters.
Those are... I'm not saying those are good, but those are...
Can they have WoW over there? It has Ghost in it.
There was a very good book called In Real Life, which was a semi-fictional account of interactions with gold farmers in China and South Korea and stuff like that. And those ones, they are sinister. But what ends up happening is that these companies hire a bunch of kids to just farm gold through whichever means are quickest, which they can then sell to Americans for a massive amount of cash. The kids obviously don't see that money. What games like that have done is basically take out the shifty middleman and just have people sign up to be gold farmers.
Yeah.
And put it forward as if it is a good thing.
Well, I don't know if you can call it a good thing unless you consider removing the middleman a good thing.
No, I mean, like, they put it forward as this idea. I have vehement fire against the play to earn space. I think it is a rancid attempt to monetize what little free time we have. I think it's an insane capitalist venture into monetization of art.
It's not just capitalism; it's late stage capitalism. Like that's where we are. They think everything's going to be like this infinite growth curve, and they just keep going. So yeah, it's that late stage capitalism.
As long as there are third world countries to exploit, the growth curve will stay up.
Yeah, whether it's sneakers or Pokemon, like digital Pokemon sweatshop, it's going to be a thing.
And
sadly,
games companies have done their best to stop things like gold farming and exploiting, which they have not succeeded at, but they've tried.
Did you see the Ubisoft president this week talking about how quartz, like their NFT that they were pushing, they're like, we've been testing it around and we're doing testing it and other things that you guys haven't seen yet. And I would say it's in the testing phase now. After they were pushing it so hard for like the last 2 years, now it's back in testing.
Oh yeah, no, they're gonna PR that one quietly under the rug and pretend like it was like a quiet experiment or something, and then we'll never see it again. Square Enix completely reduced their whole nerf to nonsense down to they are something that you get from buying figures now.
Yes, I heard people were not happy with that. I did see some of that on their Tokyo Game Show coverage. I did watch some of their Tokyo Game Show coverage. A lot of mobile games for Square Enix. There's like 19 Final Fantasy different spin-offs. Like half of them are mobile games. There's some good ones in there though too. But yeah, I watched that. Dragon Quest X, the MMO, that should be out in October, I believe. I'm gonna play that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The industry rumblings are that Square's current sell and downsize is possibly because they're looking to get bought, but no one's been able to confirm that theory. So that might be a bit too tinfoil.
Yeah, well, them and everyone else. Ubisoft is also trying. They've been trying to get bought off for the last 2 years or so.
But by the right people.
But who's going to buy Square Enix? Because it's a Japanese company, so a Japanese company has to buy them. As far as as far as I know, like how that works. So who's left? Is it going to be updating their LinkedIn? Yep. So is it going to be is it going to be Sony? Please God, no. No, Sony, don't buy Square Enix. Please God, no.
Oh God. In that regard, it would be the best play for Sony to get like a big, strong exclusive.
It suck for everyone else. It suck for everybody else.
But of all the potential individuals, Sony probably have the smallest coffers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money, but they spend most of it because most of it goes back up to the mothership. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, thank you for letting me rage on that last topic because that's. I encountered a game very recently called Earth. What was it called? Earth from Another. God, where is it? Earth from Another Sun. And when asked about whether or not they would be adding NFTs to their game, the response was, "We will have an NFT and a non-NFT version."
What?
Yeah.
It's also like Dr. Disrespect maybe about 2 months ago was like starting to talk about his game a little bit, and he kind of let it slip that it's got NFTs in it, and he tried to walk it back, and it was just like, oof, Doc.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
At the moment, his are on the less insidious side of the scale, which is fascinating. His are basically you buy enough from him, and then you get early access. So
okay.
Well, listen. Now that we've
no
spewed salt all over the industry, like a giant wave of salt, I want to move on and cleanse the palates with something important and fun and good for the world. Our homie, Fun Zelda.
Oh,
the most awesomest lady ever. Here. I will let Sage explain, I think.
So we were contacted by one of our viewers who's also been a guest on here.
She's family. She's family.
Yeah. They are doing okay. They're participating in Base to Space, so they're doing the stair climbing up the Space Needle fundraiser. October 2nd for Fred Hutch, which is a cancer research company. which is actually down the road from me. It's just on the other side of the lake. And she actually met her goal of $175, but we wanted to still promote it. To just, she's trying to raise money for cancer research.
Which has a very personal connection to her. So, give money, fight cancer, be good people. The world doesn't have to suck. And with that, I believe we're going to move into to final thoughts from all of you wonderful people.
For anyone who's interested, I will post it in the Twitch.
Yes, nice. Please do.
All right, well, Viking, do you want to leave us with your thoughts? What are your thoughts, and are they final at this moment?
How would you like to leave us this evening?
You know what? With positive messaging, one of the fascinating things, like with the GTA 6 news and everything, is that as games become more culture, as they become more ingrained in the day-to-day, it means that the weird and the interesting and the fun, your devil daggers and your vampire survivors have more and more of a chance of reaching a larger audience. So we're genuinely in a bit of a golden age for interesting games, and
Agreed.
That's for all my raginess this evening. Like, that's the feel that's kind of carrying me through 2022.
We've played a couple of them together.
Yeah. That's not even the weird stuff as well.
Oh no, nice. I wasn't saying they're weird, but at least they're different.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot. I kind of make fun of my console brothers and sisters because they're always playing like the third person mini map collectathon, open worldish type games and stuff like that, and I'm like, I play a PlayStation 3 RPG and a 4X space strategy game and a survival horror game. Like it's all over the place. So yeah, a little variety, a little weirdness. It's all good. You're right. This is an excellent time for it. Fortnite, for example, weird ass game. So.
I'll go next because I would like to end on Sage because nobody cares who I am. The new season of Fortnite looks awesome. I know I'm a filthy casual and everybody hates me for playing it, but I love it and I enjoy it. And fuck you all.
Hey, if any game was going to take over the world, I'm glad it was that one.
Did Vdash speak to us?
I ranted a little bit.
Okay. He spoke, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Final thoughts. It's excellent time for the weird games, as stated earlier.
Well, once again, it's me, SageBell. Dynamic Hunter is my Wu-Tang name. That's why it's there. Nice. So you go to the generator and then you figure out what your Wu-Tang name is, and that's how you get it. That's why Derek is whatever his is, and that's what mine is. We were talking about weird games we've been playing, or the variety. So I play Dead by Daylight a lot. I played Galahad, which was with Will on his stream, and I have never played a mecha game before. So I'm just going into like a mecha first-person shooter Overwatch game, and that was interesting.
I don't recall if I saw it.
More like Halo or something.
I don't recall if I saw it during the Square Enix thing, but the rumor is there's a new front mission coming out. So if there is a new front mission game that does come out, I would definitely say play that. SageBell, if you want to play a solid mech game.
So you got those are both like multiplayer games. I've actually been playing Tell Me Why, but really slowly because it hurts my feelings. I need to play it for 30 minutes before I either get too emotional or it's not emotional yet and I know it's coming, kind of thing. And as usual, you'll see me Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Will, I believe, is Tuesday through Saturday.
Yeah. And we're actually going back to Galahad on Saturday as well. So if you want to be a mech pilot again,
I will be in Portland this weekend, unfortunately.
Oh, doing real people stuff instead of being a mech pilot.
Well, I mean, me, yeah, sorry. We'll have other weekends. But yeah, I also was gifted Hooked on You, which is a dating simulator for Dead by Daylight, and so I should stream that. Yes, people are horny for the killers.
It actually looks really
them?
It actually looks really cool. Like, it's not at all what you're thinking. It actually looks really cool. I was surprised by it. I was like, this is like really well done. Like, this is pretty cool.
Tell me we have mental health issues in this country without telling me we have mental health issues in this country.
I've literally watched zero gameplay of it because I just was like, I know I'm gonna get it at some point. Like I want to buy it, and then it was gifted to me, so I was like, oh, sweet.
You can put that next to a Hateful Boyfriend. Do you have that one?
No, I refuse to play that.
The pigeon dating simulator.
I hate all like dating sims. I honestly I'm so bad at romancing in games. Like I could not get anyone to like me in Dragon Age. It ruined all romancing in games forward from there on.
Mm-mm.
I was like, I'm good in person and I'm bad on video games. I can't socialize for shit in a video game. I was like, oh, stranger danger. Do you like me? No, damn it.
You got to put your points in charisma.
You say this, and it just never works for me.
You got to like shoot 100 orcs with a bow and arrow just to raise your charisma.
It's so weird. Like my charisma in person's great.
We all love you.
In game, it's terrible.
Oh my god. You become more charming in RPGs by killing people. I just realized that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We need to drink a little less.
Speaking of which, Voodoo Ranger IPA is a brand that we are occasionally sponsored by. Both the Saverings and the Viking Blend have it with them. Would you like to tell us about your 1985 up there? Because that one's fun.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very light. It's kind of fruity. It's delicious. It's dangerous. Like about halfway through, it just feels like you're drinking like some really nice like apple cider, like Kool-Aid or something like that. I don't know. It's really good. It's dangerous. Like I already said that.
Not trying to sound like a shill, but have they said if they're actually going to be releasing the is it the Green Flame, the limited from PAX? Because that stuff was nice.
Oh, you got to try PAX exclusives?
Yeah, it was feckin' cool. I mean, all right, the can art was like a road with like cross. It was so cool.
We will have to put the word out to Lauren to find us spare cases of PAX.
Yes, we will now. Just you gave us a word. We'll find it.
Yep.
And we'll let you know when it's.
Hot Riku Girl B Corp certified. That is correct. Hot Riku Girl reading our copy for us. He's been here enough.
I know it's past your bedtime, sir.
None of us know what that actually means except Derek. So he usually has a little spiel about it that we just don't remember. Except to say B Corp
employee owned.
Oh, employee owned.
Yeah,
employee owned B Corp certified.
Yeah, it's some kind of certification that shows that you met like certain standards for your employees, and B Corp is like you've met a lot of the standards for your employees, stuff like that.
And if you've never looked at their social media, it's hilarious. Go to Instagram and go to the Voodoo Ranger social media. It's great.
Yeah, they have a pretty good one. Not as good as Wendy's, but they have a pretty good one.
Second tier.
Although Wendy's Twitter is off the fucking chain.
Yes.
In fact, they roasted our good friend Von Shady one time.
Oh, yes, I remember this. But that is our podcast for the week. We'll see you next week again at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time, right here.
Cheers for having us.
Cheers.
We love you all.
Thanks for coming. Deuces.